Welcome to Road to Billions podcast, the mentality of an entrepreneur. With your host, Moise Bertrand.
Hey, what's up, everybody? It is your host, Moise Bertrand, the Road to Billions podcast. And it's been an amazing journey, you guys, and I appreciate every last one of you guys who's been listening and tuning in on each episode. Some great accomplishments I just, achieved over these last couple of weeks I want to share with you guys, but, I'm such a big person on this privacy. I'm just going to leave it to later down the line for me to show you guys and talk more about it, but definitely know I'm in good spirits and everything's working out for the greatest good. Recently, man, I just noticed that me posting on TikTok a lot gained me a lot of followers and supporters and just, people who are, interested in the realm of real estate. You get me? And I'm all for it, man. I'm all for it because this is an amazing time not to only get into real estate, but just an amazing time, period, especially with AI changing and technology is just constantly updating every day now. There's different software, there's different apps. So it's always something for somebody to do. As far as, scaling their business and doing more research on the things they want to achieve. And this is why I created this podcast, man. This podcast is for those who are looking for an encyclopedia, not even encyclopedia, just a content of articles and just a content of life, table of contents that they can refer back to. Because I've been in nearly a lot of situations dealing with real estate, after 6 years investing in real estate, I could tell you guys that it is not easy, but, the market's here for a reason, and if you could adapt to it, you could adapt to anything. And just like trading stocks, man, you have bullish, you have bear markets. So, you got to react to how every game is changing. And, a lot of people have been speculating that a market crash is coming. In my eyes, honestly, I just feel like they say this every year. It might happen, it may not happen, but I do feel like it shouldn't concern you. It shouldn't concern you as an investor because if you already bought a property, you refinanced out into a 30-year loan, you're cool, right? Another reason why I said you shouldn't worry is if you do your numbers right. So a lot of people, they're in these areas where they, for one, over purchased the home for an unreasonably asking price. They obviously over leveraged, not knowing the game. And therefore, when the house set up is quote unquote supposed to be at this value, is not, right? So they feel like they done lost tons of equity, and it takes years to build equity, people. It takes years. And, they're right. They did lose equity. If they're looking to sell anytime soon or refinance, that would definitely, cause some type of friction. But like I mentioned to you guys, this is what you go through when you're in this game. And if you're looking for quick flips, then you should definitely analyze the market. You should definitely, talk more with, the real estate agents and those who actively invest in areas that you're interested in. And you should definitely get a feel for it. How's the houses in the area looking, how fast are the houses being sold? What was the average sale price in the last 6 months? What about 1 to 2 mile radius? How is those comparables relative to this property that I'm looking to buy? And you can kind of get a gist of where the property is going to head itself because, I believe wholeheartedly, like the market always corrects itself. It's like, it's going to self-correct itself because right now they're saying that a lot of people got into underwater mortgages, meaning that their house is obviously too expensive for them, meaning, they have a mortgage and for one, it's too high and the loan is too damn high. So they can't refinance out of it. They can't make no profit on it. So it's pretty much like they're spewing water underwater. And it's a hard pill to swallow, especially if you're noticing that a lot of people haven't had a chance to buy a home yet, or let alone even see the process of going through the home process now. And they're doing different ways now, different methods, I call it, to try to get more people involved with the 50-year loan. But I feel like that defeats the purpose of you calling yourself a real owner at this point, because 50 years to pay off a home is ridiculous. A lot of people, come on now, like we can't really assume everybody's going to be able to pay off in 50 years because what happens if you can't pay off by year 30? You can't pay your mortgage for 4 months straight and you did all these mortgage payments correctly for the last 30 years. What happens then? What happens? Foreclosure. And, typically at 30th year, you're supposed to be done with your house, right? Typically, that's what people will get, either a 15-year loan, which is double the mortgage. If you go 40, by all means, you can do it. You'll pay your house off in 15 years. And if you could do it in 30, all for it, right? So I tell people it's it's really like how fast you can get in right now, right? You want to get in as soon as possible because everybody is scared right now saying, oh my God, houses are this price, houses are this price. And I'm like, houses, we've been hearing this shit for the longest, man. 2008 is 2025, like I said, if you want to be the person who sits around and wait for a housing collapse to happen, by all means, wait for it. Keep waiting. The same shit happened with Bitcoin. When people say, "Oh, Bitcoin is only 17,000, that shit never going up 35,000." Oh, I'm gonna buy in now. Well, Bitcoin dropped down to 23,000. I told you that shit. It was 56,000. Oh my God, it's the highest Bitcoin ever. And then it kept going crazy, and then people are sitting back like, So now we have XRP that we're pretty much looking at, and I tell people, man, get in where you fit in. Don't be out here trying to do what apartment guy is doing. He might be suffering from vacancy more than you because they have a different criteria. You may not as suffer because you might have a duplex or a single family home or a triplex or a quadplex. So you may not have as much vacancy that the apartments is dealing with or the amount of criteria that they can't get people to pass. So of course their market is different from yours as well because they're dealing with commercial, right? So you don't want to look at what they're saying about the market. You want to look at what people that look like you that are investing in the same thing as you were saying. And I'm just telling you, like, honestly, you're going to have a market propaganda crash in every state, you're going to hear every year, right? But I know one thing, like, it doesn't really matter at this point. I feel like if you have a strategy to come out of a loan, get into a loan, you could sustain a few years. You could do what you got to do in order to just keep that home going. That's only if you did the right things as far as creating that profit margin on top of your rent, and as well as just keeping everything low cost, such as maintenance, because you did all the rehab work in the beginning, right? And this is why I said I learned from the past as well, because some things I didn't take care of, and it kind of bit me in the ass later down the line, just because it was just kind of a little bit too expensive, and I was just I was gambling a little bit. At the point I was like, it could wait for the next time. And the next time came sooner than I thought. So if you have a chance as well, guys, just try to update your properties as soon as possible, as much as possible. If you have tenants in there, because like I said, that is what technically eats into everybody's profit every month. That maintenance, that maintenance is definitely something that a lot of people don't speak about. But as far as everything else, man, I just really want to tell people, like, if you're looking to get into real estate, and I'm sorry if you guys hear like a little bit of noise in the background. I'm actually driving. I'm actually driving and stuff like that. It's crazy on this expressway. But I'm doing everything off a voice memo, you guys. So don't think it's hands-free. But anyways, yeah, man, I'm definitely here just telling people, man, like, you don't want to be the observer, right? And I was an observer at one point. I watched, but I wanted to get in the game, man. I was tired of this watching people all day, whether they won or failed. I was just so inquisitive about just the whole anatomy of real estate, about how it works, how it happens, why do people do it? Why do people invest in it? And, I figured it out. I figured out that the only way you're going to really get good at this game is knowing to get in and learning the secrets, which is why I tell people, like, the secrets is you get rich really quickly. If you sell a house, you make 70,000. That's somebody's salary, bro, in a year. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not going to say too much, but you get to a point where you start realizing all this shit is a fucking game. Like, it's really a game. And 10,000 is the same amount of work you put in to get $10,000 is the same amount of work it takes to get 50,000. 50,000 takes to 100,000. And it all depends on your network. It all depends on how much you want it. It all depends on your knowledge. It all depends on your experience. And, I tell people all the time, like, the more you learn, the more you earn. You don't know what you don't know because you haven't experienced the knowledge yet. But when you learn it, when you learn to grasp it, then you kind of see, damn, this is what bro was talking about this whole time. I kind of see blah, 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 the results, And then you kind of get a better feeling of doing your own deals. But I tell people, you're never going to gain that confidence unless you do it yourself. I try to tell people, I'm like, listen, man, if you're scared about $6,000 being lost, 10,000, hold on. You're going to lose a lot more, because I'm not saying everybody loses, but I'm not saying you're going to lose a lot. But all I'm saying is real estate is a game, right? So it's a winner and loser all the time. And you may not win in the front end, but you may win in the back end. You know what I'm saying? You may not win at both ends. You may take an L on both ends, but you experience something that most people haven't experienced, and that was a fail. But you gain that wisdom, whether it's really good, whether it was really bad, whether it was like, detrimental, whether it was beneficial. You want to think about it like, you know what? I'm learning something that other people have yet to have the knowledge for. And this is what I'm telling you guys, man. So getting into the market at today's time, I would say just do it. Don't think about it. Just make sure you have your comparables in line. Make sure you know your rehab budget. Make sure you work with guys who are going to definitely do the work in good timing, because timing definitely plays a crucial part in this business, as well as just having an honest conversation with your lenders, allowing them to give you extensions if you ever do bypass the maturity date, which is if you're going from that hard money lender to a 30-year loan. You want to definitely make sure you have a good relationship with them and get as many questions answered as far as, do they offer extensions if you're not going to make it in time for your maturity date, so forth. And then just getting all your eggs in line, your credit, your finances, and having everything, lined up and, a great order. But other than that, you guys, I'm going to tell you guys what I always tell my mentees, man, you're doing good. The first step in wealth is just wanting to get in something that creates that wealth. And the minute you guys understand that is the minute you guys are going to create, your mind is going to create endless opportunities, and people are just going to be coming from the woodworks. And I tell people all the time, like, the people I wish supported me never did support me. It's always strangers. It's always people who I least expect the support from actually comes through at the end. So don't feel bad if you're doing this journey and it feels lonely. Don't feel bad if you're investing and you feel like you may not have all the money as the next guy or the next woman. You get me? Because everybody starts from somewhere. Not everybody's going to be able to do $1 million projects their first year. Not many people are going to be able to flip 4, 5, 10 houses in a year. Maybe one is where you want to start at, but you're doing something that most people are afraid to do, and that's take a bet on themselves. And I just want to say I appreciate you guys for even listening to me this morning. I definitely haven't dropped in a minute, but I just always want to give you guys this constant reminder that I'm working, and things may not be always perfect, but I'm fighting through it. And that's what makes me successful. That's what makes me great. When I look at myself in the mirror, I'm proud of myself. I remember at one point I was this kid in college saying, man, what the fuck am I going to do? And then I seen a for sale sign on the property, man. And, I just felt like that sparked the interest in me. That right there sparked the interest in me. And playing Monopoly games, it always came easy to me, man. And I felt like this was my calling, not only to do my life's purpose, but also to give you guys the knowledge of, pretty much navigating through this real estate journey and just entrepreneurship overall. You get me? So always make sure you work around the people who you want to work with, because this is a very cutthroat game. It's very sharky. And when I say sharky, man, the person who's going to rob you is not the person who has, the hard hat on or anything. It's the person who got the suit. It's the person who is behind the computer. Your lenders or people who, unfortunately, this is the game we're dealt with. Especially being, I will say in this world, African American. You get some properties that are redline. You don't get as many benefits as the counterpartners or other races. And it's not something to deter you guys. It's just something I'm just putting you up on game, because this is what makes us great. This is what makes me great, that adversity. Because when you're deterred from so many obstacles, when you have so many things that are trying to deter you, it's like your brain is constantly at work. Your brain is constantly trying to create new solutions and think out the box, creative thinking. So you definitely got to think like that, and, don't be afraid of any challenges, because puzzles are always going to be meant to be found and solved. And you might just be the missing key to that puzzle, finding the solution in your area, in your life, knowing what you want to invest in, knowing what you're comfortable in, So don't let nobody force rush you, but also don't sit too much on your hands, because I never see anybody sit and make money on their hands. If you could sit and make money on your hands, then you show me, and goddamn, I'll stop it. But I know even the traders, they got to use their hands to click shit and move shit around and still do the research. And even though people might be like, I can make money from a computer, they still doing the work. They still doing the work. Don't let people fool you. Shit look good, but it's no easy way into this shit. You got to really be grinding every day, every night, and then not caring about what other people think about you, not caring about the constant results that you have to get. Just being in the moment, following the journey, and just, putting God first, and then everything else you do would just fall in place. So once again, I appreciate you guys for listening to Road to Business Podcast. It's been an amazing journey. If you haven't already subscribed to my channel, rate and review it. I want some more comments. I want you guys telling me what you really think, man. I want you guys to, put it on Apple Podcasts, good or bad. I just want to hear it because I'm here for you guys. And I just definitely want to give you guys the information that, I wish somebody would have taught me coming up. So once again, man, you guys take care and always remember, put God first.